This is the problem we're having. Years ago, men will work for this. That's the reason why men used to want to get married, because of sex.
I think it's just part of the culture, to be honest. Like,
What culture?
any culture where sex outside of marriage is common and not against the law of the land, this is very much the case. It's not that about dressing nice so you can fake it, but how we choose to present ourselves to the world says something about us.
Okay, so let's just say we're going to Nando's and I end up on a sparkling dress and I've got my
I'll be like, great,
even
I've got the best looking women in here. Fantastic.
well, maybe it's different for you.
Yo guys, welcome back to another episode on my channel. I'm sitting in this spot, which means I've got a great conversation lined up for you today. You know, on this channel, we love to talk about all things dating and relationships and seeing what we can do to attract the kind of person we want. So without further ado, please welcome Tamara to the show. Welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you for having me.
No, of course. I mean, you're a watcher and now you're on the show. Here you are.
Ta-da!
Here we are. No, we love it. We love it. So I always like to jump straight in. So tell us your age or your age range, asking a lady her age, and one thing a guy should know about you if he wants to take you on a date.
My age range is whatever age you want to put me on. So
Okay,
I'm going to leave it right
okay.
there because I think age is something that people use as a weapon. So we're going to
Okay.
leave it there for knowledge, honor knowledge. And one
Okay.
thing a guy should know before taking me on a date is don't try and impress me with what you say is what you do.
Okay. Have you had that before where like guys are just kind of all talk, no action?
Plenty of them, yes.
Plenty of them.
Plenty of them.
Can you give me an example? Like give me like the most standout example.
Well, I would say that probably in the first date, everything looks like, like diamonds and everything looks absolutely beautiful. But unfortunately, it shows on the second and third day that there's something more behind it. So, and it's not exactly what they say that it was going to be
Really?
or it was. Yeah.
Okay, can you give an example? Obviously, don't say names, but like, what was the first date, and then what did you notice in the second and third that you're like, this guy isn't what it seems?
It looks like most, I'm not going to say obviously names or anything like that,
Of course,
as you
don't say any
mentioned.
names.
The problem that I had in one of the dates that I've been, and it was actually a very nice guy, is that unfortunately they say they're single and then they're not single. That's one of the cases.
Okay.
So it's not all what they say, it's what they do and how they act.
So what did you see in the second and third date that suggested he wasn't
their
single?
phone was ringing, we turn it around, or I gotta leave a little bit earlier, or I had a phone call from blah blah blah. So you kind of grab those super red flags or super banners, red banners.
Okay, interesting. So how did you handle that? Like, because you don't know at that point, you're just kind of you're seeing the signs.
You're guessing. But
Yeah.
the thing is that I think it doesn't take a silly person to kind of understand that it's not something that it's normal to do when you're actually giving your full attention to somebody that you're on a date on. Like if you're on a date, first, second, third date, we all know everybody wants to try and impress somebody correctly. And then suddenly something's going a little bit left and it's not going right as they want. And then this is a problem.
Have you ever had that yourself where like you were trying to impress a guy and then something happened, you're like, oh?
No, authenticity is something that goes with me very much. So no, I don't have to impress anybody. If you don't like me, you don't like me.
Okay, so wouldn't you apply that for guys then, where like, like I guess they don't need to, they should just show up as themselves as opposed to trying to impress the woman?
I mean, you and me know that the problem that we have nowadays and the reason why a lot of relationships don't work, or even when you're dating, is there's a lot of lack of authenticity. That's one of them, in between others, and integrity. Like do what you say, like not only just talk about it, just do it.
I think that's, I think that's always been a thing. I think that's always been a problem. But I think with social media, we can further portray our personal brand to be something. But people would always like portray themselves to be something. And sometimes they are it, sometimes they won't, because it's like everyone's like trying to get the better deal. Do you know what I mean?
Don't you actually, when people say like, oh, I'm trying to portray my own brand, what's really a brand to people? Is it you want the reality of it, or you trying to sell a fake product?
Yeah, when I say brand, I guess it's when people think of you, it's like you want them to think of certain things, right? So some of those things might be true. Some things obviously might not be true. Do you know what I mean? So I think because everybody has their own personal brand, even if they're not on social media, you have people who know you, so they have a perception of you. So when, when it's like we're saying the brand, it's like we want everyone to have this certain perception of us. And usually because, well, I guess everyone's always trying to, they're always trying to elevate themselves or try and put themselves in a position where they can be elevated. Do you know what I mean?
And I think they lie because it's protection as well for them. So they might be in a situation where they want to come out of, and I understand that maybe people do that because I think all of us do it at some point. If it's not for business, it's for personal, and if it's not for something else. But I think that's what it is. They try and protect themselves maybe because they're in between something and then suddenly want to come out of it, or they don't come out of it. So they think this is the best way to actually put an armor. So then nobody catches the reality until it comes out.
I feel like you've had a lot of experience with this. I'm getting that impression.
I guess it's not just me, it's my girls as well. Yeah.
Okay, so what? That the guys that you've been meeting and dating, they're just not what they say they are?
That is something that, unfortunately, because there's a lot of, let me just say that I believe that the reason why relationships or dating is not good nowadays, or most of the times it's not good, is because there is a lack of character, there's a lack of integrity, and there's actually a lack of leadership from somebody, and that also links up to the lying and the betraying and the making sure that you see me in one way, but then I'm not that person. So I think that's the biggest problem. So yeah, I have plenty of experience, and the girls have plenty of experience too.
Interesting. That does make me wonder, because I think that happens very much on both sides, men and women. But there are, good people getting into relationships all the time.
Oh yeah, there is, yeah.
So I guess I would ask, what is making you and your friends choose those kinds of men?
I think what happens is we all fall into this track of believing on the fairy tale that we were taught when we were little. And then we all have that supposed type, even though we don't want to have that type, but then it comes out that you always end up liking the same type of guy. He's very charming, he's very fun, he's portraying to be this guy that's going to give it all. And then unfortunately, then when you realize that they lack all the important things, as I mentioned, the character, the integrity, and the leadership, it's something that, is very sad, because I don't think it's that we really choose them. I think what happens is they present themselves in a certain way, and then suddenly you attracted to them. But then you come into this circle of lies, and then you don't know what to do with it, because then you get to the attachment with that person, because suddenly after 6 days, maybe 10 days, everything is still good. They're very good actors. But then, you realize that they shouldn't get, more an Oscar than from being the biggest liar in the world.
We getting out here Oscars, boy. Yeah. Oscar-winning performance. I get what you're saying, and I'm definitely not saying there aren't guys out there like that. But you're an attractive woman, so you'll be attracting all kinds of guys, right? You'll be attracting good guys, bad guys, nice guys, manipulative, like all of that, right? And so I'm not saying you are saying this, but if you're saying that there's been a consistent pattern with the guys that you have experience with, because I know for a fact there'll be some really good, nice, genuine guys watching this right now being like, I would be integral with you. I am someone who's authentic, but maybe because he's not as tall as the other guy, he's not as attractive, or he's not as successful. A lot of those good, genuine guys who have the character maybe don't actually get an opportunity. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess it's one of those things which is why I asked you, what is it about a guy that initially attracts you to them?
I feel, in my opinion, from my experience, of course, we all, and I think biologically for men is the same thing. But for me, I'm not saying for women in general, I'm very attracted to the physique. So if somebody has a good physique, they look after themselves, they're charming, they've got good teeth, they smell good. So you're like, initially this is really good. But then the problem is what comes after. So unfortunately, what we realize, and I don't know if it's happened to you even with women, so women are very superficial and their appearance is fantastic, but all that muscle that we want on men, for example, and we're like, oh yeah, he looks good. There's no muscle going on in here. So that muscle is just kind of not working, a lot here, but not here. So unfortunately, it's the same as with women, they look absolutely amazing. And then unfortunately, they just have the priorities somewhere else and they just don't know how to handle themselves correctly.
I agree. So if you were going to say, I agree, completely agree. So if a guy came to you and was like, I keep dating these really attractive women, right? or rather he keeps dating women where they're not the substance he's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, how are you choosing these women? He's like, well, because they're really gorgeous, they have amazing figures. And then I find out after. What would you say to him?
Then you can still choose these women, but maybe unfortunately you might have the reality check, which it happens to women the same as men, that this person hasn't got a brain as much as you want them to have, and be able to have consistency and some kind of substance for them to be able to keep your attention on a longer term.
Yeah. Interesting. It's actually really relevant because I had this conversation with a friend of mine yesterday.
Okay.
In a sense that a lot of the women that he has dated are very attractive, but none of them have the substance he's looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And he was saying about, oh, he's like ready for a serious relationship, etc., etc. And I was like, well, the reason, and it's been like this for the most of his adult life, right?
Okay.
And I was like,
He's on his 30s?
he's 28.
Okay.
28. And I was like, well, the reason you're not finding it is because you keep choosing based on these metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Like you keep choosing the it girl in the room, the girl who every guy wants, right? Because of how she looks. And it's if you're looking for something different, you have to start choosing for different reasons.
Right.
Now, that's not me saying that, okay, you have to now choose a girl who's like you're not attracted to. But, we all have, I guess I'm talking for a guy, I guess I'd ask this for women, right? As men, it's like, there are girls who are really attractive that, we would definitely, sleep with. And there are girls who maybe aren't as attractive, but there's still a level of attraction that we would still be intimate with, right?
Right.
So what I said to him, I was like, at the moment, you've been choosing the girl who you have the most physical attraction to. And
Right.
that's why you're not finding it. So I was like, choose a girl where when you look at her, you still are attracted to her. But as long as that box is ticked, then look for something else.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be that, out of, I'm using this as an example, right? Out of 10 girls, right? Maybe 5 of them he finds attractive. And out of that 5, like maybe 2 of them, he's like, yeah, I'm super attracted to. And the other ones are like, oh, like, I could, like I'm attracted, but I'm not like super physically there. And I'm like, okay, as long as that box is ticked, then look for, because he loves deep intellectual conversations, then look for that. Then look for someone who displays that loyalty, etc. And at least what you said to me, you like the guy who's, attractive, nice teeth, all of this stuff. But if you're choosing for that reason, that's why you're not finding the substance.
I've have a theory about this.
Go for it.
What I've realized is just depending on the stage of life, you might be looking for dating for experience or dating for a goal. So,
True.
Right. So this could be that your friend may want to date for a goal, but is he really ready for it? Has he got enough experience? Does he really know what he wants? And I feel that what happens is there is 5 different stages that I believe on dating we should all take. If you allow me to mention
Go for it. I'd love to hear it.
I think we should have a look. First, obviously, is the attraction and the chemistry that you have with somebody.
Okay.
You just go like, oh my God, like I'm attracted to this person. But most people, what do, kid? They say, I like that person. You can't like that person. You don't know the person.
Yep.
Then you get to like them a little bit.
Yep.
You're getting to know them and you're taking a minute and you're like, okay, the conversations are good and they're productive. And then on the other side, you look at the compatibility with that person. Can we talk about coaching? Can we talk about sports? Do we like music the same way? Can we, do we believe our values are the same? Then on the other side, then you've got the lifestyle. What's the religion, the politics, what they do on a day-to-day basis. So then that kind of stuff is something that I think we should look at. And then at the end is the connection. Is what's connecting you just superficial, or can you really connect with somebody and be in the same room when you're quiet and you actually feel comfortable with them without having to say anything? That's when I think you really know that you're actually with somebody that can really, really look into a longer term situation. I
agree. I love all those things. But I think the connection comes first.
Really?
Yeah.
How can you say, am I allowed to ask you a
question? Of course. You're here to ask questions. This is a conversation.
I know, but I don't know if it's the right time or I need to do this after.
Whatever you want. This is free.
If you believe the connection is first, how do you think you connect with somebody as a number one, let's say, on the to-do list?
So when I say connection is first, as in the connection is what makes you choose them. Like gives the opportunity. because you started with the attraction.
Correct, because that's the first thing you look at somebody, right?
That is the first thing you see, for sure. I'll give you this example.
Go on then.
Anyone who watches this, who knows me, is going to be like, yeah, this is true.
Ooh.
When I was, especially in like my early to mid 20s, and I was, just being single, having my experience, I would have like casual relationships with women who were like very attractive.
Okay.
Right. And I would, only because they were very attractive would I be like, yeah. And then it got to a point where I realized with a few, I didn't like who they were as a person. Okay. And there was actually no connection apart from just the physical chemistry. And I kind of realized, I asked myself, like, if we weren't, actually being intimate, right? Would I even enjoy being in this person's company?
Okay.
And there are a few people I was like, no. And that's when I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. Now, have I had like casual, connections with people? Sure. But for me, there has to be a level of connection. It's not enough for her to just be for me to find her attractive. I would rather have a like casual, fun kind of situation, right? With a girl that there's a level of attraction, but I have a connection with her, than a girl who's like...
Let me stop you.
Go on.
What do you call connection?
Somebody who there is an element of friendship. Friendship is reciprocity. Okay. Friendship is consideration.
Okay.
So I would rather have an element of that with someone who I have a level of attraction to, but she may not be the most attractive girl I've ever seen, than have none of that with a girl who I'm super attracted to.
But how do you find that out? How do you know when you actually really find that connection?
Well, because what I would say is that when you, for example, you give somebody a chance, so you go on a first date.
Right.
Yeah.
But you go on a first date because you were attracted to them first, right?
There is a level of attraction. Right. Of course, I'm not saying attraction isn't important.
Okay.
But if I'm using an example of my friend, he would choose to go on a date with the girls who were the most attractive.
But he's probably thinking about something else. He's not thinking about...
Well, he's so used to choosing women that way.
Okay.
And when girls are so used to choosing men that way, this is what happens.
Right.
So, and I'd even say, and you can tell me what you think, I'd even say it's different for men and women, because the difference is, at least for many women I've talked to, if you see a guy and physically you're kind of like, okay, I'm not unattracted to him, but I'm not super attracted to him. If he has other qualities, as most women can grow attraction to him.
I agree with that.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's even more of a
not
reason.
Men.
Not men. Men, not the case. But the difference is with men, their threshold for what they find attractive is much lower than women's. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
Which is why I said to him, as long as that threshold is met, right? You don't have to go, like, if this is the minimum threshold of what you find attractive and this is the highest, at the moment, you've just been choosing up here because they're up here.
Right. And
I'm saying, make sure she reaches that threshold, but then choose for something else for what you're looking for. And you're right. He's dating with a girl, right? He wants to have a connection, relationship. That's what he's ready for. And many people, guys, but women as well, they're so used to choosing the guy who's up here because he's up here. And I'm saying that when...
He's up there, how?
Because he's very attractive. And he's very successful.
Only because of attraction and success? Do you think most women are doing that?
Yeah, because if he's really attractive and very successful, right? Most, like on paper, he's a very attractive guy, right? And visually, right? So if you want to start, like I was saying to him, if you want to start having something else, then we have to start choosing for different reasons. Because I've had it where I've been on a date with a very attractive girl, but there was it was just physical.
Back. Right.
It was just physical. Could we have had fun? Sure. But then, if I'm being honest, even if you're like having, a chilled, fun time with someone, right? You're still spending time with them.
Right, of course.
Right? So their personality still matters, even if you're not choosing them for a relationship.
Right.
At least that's what I believe anyway. So for you, I completely get, but it sounds like you're like, the physical attraction has been the reason you're choosing, and that's why this is happening.
I think not only for myself, as I said, I mentioned it for the girls.
Yep.
But I would say that the problem that you have is that that's your initial eye view. So whatever it is that you go in, you're not going to look at the one that is just, looking like a Trump. No offense to the people that live in the streets.
Yep.
But, that's not the kind of standard that you have for the person. Only just because if you're somebody that look after yourself, and I know you say that in your interviews, then, I want to have somebody that looks after themselves too. But at the same time, a lot of people that are on that track of thought, they actually end up being with people that are very narcissistic, or they've got narcissistic traits, and they've got very big problems with insecurity. And that's where it comes to it. I think that's where we end up with the issue.
I don't disagree with you, but the tendencies you're describing, right, of those things are most often found in the people who are so used to leveraging their attractiveness to get what they want. That's why they lack the character a lot of the time. Obviously not all, right? Obviously not all.
No, not everybody.
Because let me ask you this. When was the last time you went on a date with a guy that you weren't unattracted to, but you weren't really attracted to?
Back in March, April.
Okay. So why did you go on a date with him?
Because his character was amazing. Like, he made me laugh.
Great.
He knew how to talk. He knew how to handle me. And he was absolutely nice. Very good.
Okay, so I think that's a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
Like, how was that different to other attractive guys that you dated before?
I normally will not go out with a man that I'm not attracted with. But I decided to change the chip. So
okay, and what
maybe
happened
it was a little bit before.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he doesn't live in the UK, so it's a little bit hard. He lives in the US.
Okay. So, like, I guess in that example, right, that felt different.
Oh, totally different.
Yeah? Did that feel better than what you'd had before?
Let's say, would you call different better?
Okay.
It depends on one side of things you look at it. So if you are somebody that very stuck into the form of loving somebody or wanting to be with somebody that's physically perfect in your eyes, then you're not open for other things. But if you start being open to other possibilities like this one, then you're in a good place. So I really enjoyed it. He was a lovely man.
Yeah. And I think that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's what I was telling my friend. So, because I think guys and girls fall into this trap of just choosing the most attractive person, and then they're having this experience of that person not showing up for them, that person, being very inconsiderate of them, etc. I think one thing we have to remember, and I tell the guys this as well, is that we live in a day and age where people tend to be dating multiple people at the same time, right? And so if you take, for example, if you have someone who's dating 4 people, right, entertaining 4 people, generally speaking, we only have enough capacity to show up the way we need to for one person.
I agree.
So if you're doing that for one person out of the 4, that means there's 3 you're not doing it for. And they're going to make this assessment of you of, oh, you're inconsiderate. Oh, you only want things on your terms. Oh, you are very hot and cold. You're very inconsistent, right? So often there are definitely people who, for example, they don't know how to show up, how to show real investment. That happens. But more often than not, it's not because they don't know how to, but it's because they can only do that for one person at a time. And if we're not that person, we feel like they don't know how to.
I just think that people are actually dating a lot of people at the same time is because they're not really sure what they're looking for. That's my opinion.
I think it's just part of the culture, to be honest. Like,
what culture?
This culture.
Do you mean generation, or you mean
generation?
UK? You mean US? You mean
oh, sure.
Worldwide?
I would say a combination of this generation and the Western world. Any culture where sex outside of marriage is common and not against the law of the land, this is very much the case. In fact, even outside of that, because somebody can still be getting to know 2 or 3 people for marriage.
Will you date 4 women at the same time?
Would I date 4 women at the same time? I've done that before.
Okay, how did that go on?
It was fun.
I'm becoming the interviewer now.
Yeah, 100%. I've done that before, but I'm very transparent.
Okay.
So I'm very honest. you know? So if they say, oh, you know, have you been on a date with anyone else? I'm like, I have, yeah. Or if they say, you know, you talking to anyone else? I'll be very transparent. And it's happened where, you know, one girl was like, oh, you know, I don't feel comfortable, you know, with you maybe talking to other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm just not in a place where, to be fair, I just come out of a relationship. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But the problem with it is it because you're not really finding that click with that person, that's why you dating other women at the same time? Or will it be just because you're trying to have experiences instead of...
So at the time, because this was several years ago, at the time, I was dating, you know, when we said people dating for experiences and dating for goals, I was dating for experience.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I like connecting with different people. Yeah, of course. And for me, I think it's about being fully transparent. Also because you want to make sure that you and that person, you're on the same page about what it is you're looking for, what kind of thing you're looking for. So yeah, I remember I just come out of a relationship and I was like, okay, like I'm just kind of open to connecting with people, just, you know, enjoy meeting people, etc. But I'll be honest, there's a lot of time management, so I don't do that anymore. I was like, I don't have enough time.
It takes a lot.
I don't have a lot of time to do that. Have you ever dated more than one person at a time?
I've been talking, but not dating, and also dating. I mean, talking, you're just getting to know people. So, and it's the same as dating. Like, even if you go out for dinner, it doesn't mean dating. You have to be sleeping with everybody.
No, of course.
Because dating is grabbing, you know, information of somebody.
Yes.
So, you know, when you go out, you're asking questions. You don't want to make it like a job interview, because that's what it seems to be nowadays.
100%.
Everybody just wants to be asking all them, I've got all these questions, these 20 questions.
Yeah.
And what it happens is, you know, when people date different people, they think, oh, wait, I'm not comfortable with you dating other people. But is it because the culture or on land or out of land? You know, some people think, okay, well, dating is kissing and sleeping with other people, or I'm being intimate with somebody. Or is it dating that I just want to get to know people? It depends if you go in the traditional way, or you go in the social media way, or you go in your own way.
Very true. Very true. So for you, is it that you could be talking, let's say there could be two guys maybe you're just talking to, like messaging, but then one guy you're going on dates with?
It just depends. If I go to that level, I need to get to speak to somebody before I decided to go on what you call a date. There's a lot of pressure as well, I think, on calling something a date, because really a date is let's go and hang out. Let's go and...
Do you find that exciting though?
I mean, the word date, I think it's a bit too much sometimes.
Really?
Let's go on a date. And I'm like, no, hey, you want to go cinema, or let's go and grab some lunch? And I'll be like, okay, that sounds nice. I know what the intention is, because you clearly can feel it with that person. But if you call it a date, it's like, oh my God, what do I got to wear? Like, what am I doing? Like, do I look good? Is he attracted to me? And it's just a bit too much. I don't know. Maybe it's just my way of viewing something like this. Yeah. I'm serious. Like, do you want to go on a date with me? No, maybe say like, hey, you know, Tamara, I would love to take you out for dinner. I'll be like, okay, I get where this is coming from.
Yes.
Or if you're then not comfortable with it, just say to somebody, hey, I'd love to go out with you, but as friends. And then you then go, okay, do we put him into this category or into that category?
So if a guy says, so how would you, if a guy's like, because you could ask someone and say, hey, we should hang out, let's grab some dinner.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And then you could be like, oh, like I want us to go for dinner, like a date, right? So if a guy said, hey, let's grab some dinner, how would you know whether it's a date or whether it's just like as a friend?
How do you start a good relationship?
You tell me.
As a friend.
So would you take it as a...
If I wanted to date you, if I was attracted to you, I'll make you know. You will know without me having to even say it. And men are not stupid.
No, actually, I would say, not that most men are stupid. A lot of men don't pick up on subtle cues. So women are very good at communicating subtly, right? Indirect communication. Not every guy is good at that. Not every guy picks up on that. So for example, you have a guy hitting on a girl at a bar. Okay. And he's
wrong place to hear a girl. You're never gonna find somebody good. That's the hookup. That's the hookup spot.
Yeah, well, I'd say the club for sure. Depending on the bar. If it's like a members bar or like a lounge bar, it might be
okay,
different.
We're going to a good level now.
Yeah, like a bar, right? Now he may be talking to her because he's taking an interest in her. He's asking about her, etc. And she's like responding. Now, as women, you might be able to see that she is not interested. Her body language is facing away from him. She's not actually asking him questions. She's not being reciprocal, right? Her body language is closed off. But for a guy, for him, it's like, oh, he's not heard her say no. He's not heard her say, hey, I'm just not interested. So he thinks, okay, this is still an avenue that I can pursue, right?
Right.
So, and this is where a lot of the gray areas of like sexual harassment comes in, because guys communicate very directly. It's like, yo, bro, if I don't like you, I'm gonna tell you I don't fuck with you. Right. Girls can like hate each other but pretend to be friends.
Yeah, but between girls, yeah, maybe, yeah.
Exactly, right? So, but she doesn't like her, right? Guys, that's not a thing. So when it comes to, for example, showing someone that you're attracted as a woman, depending on the guy, right, he may not always pick up on those subtle cues.
So if you go and speak to a woman at the bar, normally you're going to offer her a drink, or are you here with your friends?
Not the first time I talked to her, I wouldn't offer her a drink.
Oh, you wouldn't? Okay, that's fine. That's your style.
No, but you just touch base, and then if I saw her later, then I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
But when you're going to talk to somebody at the bar, clearly it's because you found something interesting about that person. In this case, it's a girl. So then...
Depends though.
A girl, right? No.
Yeah. No, I'm a straight guy personally. Hey, whatever you do, you do
I know. I had it on the interviews before.
No, it depends, because also there's something about being open to the world. Just open to engaging. So like, for example, if I may go to a bar, let's say I've not been there before, right? We're sticking to stay in the bar scenario. Let's say I've not been there before, and there's someone at the bar, and I'd be like, hey, have you been here before? What do you recommend? That could be a guy or a girl. It might be a woman, but that doesn't mean I'm interested in her.
Okay.
But it might be a guy. Obviously, I'm not interested in him in that sense, right? So I'm just saying the way I operate. Like, I'm open to engaging and connecting with the world, right? I guess...
Did you go to that person because you had interest in the person, or you just wanted to ask that person? You just decided to just direct your question to that person?
No, so that was more, I was in a situation where that person was there, and I just
wanted to ask.
Open engagement.
Okay, but if you don't ask any more questions, I mean, it's silly to think that if you just ask one question, that person is interested in you. You're just asking that question because you just wanted to know, and then they will ask you because you were there at that time. But if they're not coming back to you with another question, or they're not double taking like the old school way of doing it, then don't be silly and think that just because somebody asks you a question, I think they gotta maybe be educated and coach a little bit better to know.
Well, what I would say is that everyone's different. So, because, we're originally talking about, you're like, oh, if a woman's attracted to you, like as a guy, you will just know. And when I'm saying no, he will not just know. And most guys probably don't pick up on it unless it is something quite clear and obvious.
Okay.
So like, for example, like I like to think I'm quite in tune, but I don't always get it right.
Okay.
I've had it where I've been out with friends and they'd be like, oh, she was really into you. I was like,
what?
No. But then, like, for example, some people are very overt. They'll be like, locked eyes. Maybe they make physical contact. But some people, they're like, oh, when I really like someone, they're actually more shy. So it can come across as more disconnected.
Right.
Does that make sense? So, yeah. So I think that just letting guy know, generally, I think even being subtle, he may not pick up on it. You may have to, like I said, it depends on the guy. And if it's someone you don't know, you just don't know.
So if they're coming to ask you a question when you're in a bar, in this case, again, the bar, not the club, let's go for the bar.
Yeah.
If they're asking you a question and they ask you a second question and a third question, and you're talking and bouncing between each other, and then you ask them, would you like to go out for dinner, or let's go and grab some food, or would you like to meet up another day and go to a different place and have a drink?
Yeah.
If that person's going to tell you yes, they clearly know that you've got some type of interest. It doesn't mean that you're looking for a relationship.
I agree.
But there's some type of interest because that person is hanging around the bar more than 1 minute or 30 seconds asking a question.
Sure. I wouldn't, this is just me and my experience.
Okay.
If I was at a bar and a girl started a conversation with me, I wouldn't straight away assume that she's open to it, that she's interested. And the reason I wouldn't assume is because some people are just friendly.
Yeah, I'm super friendly.
Exactly. Like, have you had it before where guys thought you were interested, but you're just being friendly?
Yeah, many times, but because I'm not from these countries, isn't it? So it's a little bit different. Like,
Sure. But I think that's just people in general. It's like some people are, you're a friendly person, right? Some people are friendly as well. And especially like if you're an attractive woman, for the average guy, he's going to think, oh, because the average guy doesn't have women come and talk to him, right? So he's like, oh, she talked to me. She stands out from everybody else that he's engaged with. So he likely thinks, oh, there's a chance, which is what you said you've experienced yourself. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's just naturally you're gonna get drawn to certain people. So if what I'm saying, that's what I believe, that if you go to a place and somebody's engaging with you more than just for a question, you clearly know there's some kind of attraction, there's some kind of interest, whatever it is. If they want to sleep with you, or they want to take you out, or they just want to kind of get to know who you are, because maybe you're above, the level, like they think they can't reach you, but they just have interest, you will know. Like, I think you will know.
No, you can't assume that.
Okay.
You can't assume that.
I think as women will know.
I think women know because I say guys communicate quite directly. It's very clear.
So if I was to you and I started talking to you on a bar and I said, hey, so you've been here before? Let's try and bounce the conversation.
Okay.
Let's go. So I'll go, hey, you've been here before?
No, this is my first time.
Why did you come here today?
Just meeting a friend for a drink.
Well, female or male?
Why does that matter to you?
You should know by now.
Oh, well, you're spin.
Simple.
That's different. But how many women do you think do that though?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't do it that way.
What? Like defeated the point of the whole exercise.
I just wanted to let you know that if I was interested, I will.
But even you
I might
wouldn't
not
do it
be
that
as
way.
direct to that, but I will keep asking you. What does it matter? Well, I just want to know.
Okay, no, wait. Okay, do it how you would do it.
Okay.
Because doing it in a way that is very direct, you're actually just proving my point. Because you wouldn't even do it that way, and most women would not do it that way.
Okay, I have to give you this one.
Right? Okay, give me this one.
Let's try again.
Go for it. Role play, guys.
King, don't laugh. The
Okay.
producer, right?
We're serious.
Yeah, serious right now. Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Is this your first time here?
It is, yeah.
Why did you come here today?
I'm just meeting a friend for a drink.
Is it, you go, a boy, a girl? Like, I don't want to interrupt if, you know.
Oh, interesting. Does that matter to you if it's a boy or girl?
Well, maybe, but I just want to know who you're here with.
Oh, well, maybe I have to wait and find out.
Okay, well, maybe I'll see you later then.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
I think the boy or girl question, that makes it clear. If you're loving this episode and these kinds of conversations, then I want to give you something. We recently launched the Kits Angels community. This is a sisterhood for women who are tired of what the dating scene has given them and are ready to take their love lives to the next level. It's a space for you as a woman to not be alone in your journey to love, where we learn, talk, and share our experiences as part of a strong sisterhood, with some leadership and guidance from yours truly, of course. Not to mention never before seen videos from me on how I've led dozens of women to meeting great men. And so as a thank you for watching this episode, I'm giving you a month's membership completely complimentary on me. Just click the Kits Angels link below, and when you join the group, message me the code phrase Angels Podcast and I will pay for your membership. Now back to the episode.
Right.
For sure. So would you do it that way?
But I didn't say, yeah.
Okay.
I would do that, but I wouldn't say, I don't know what I said before. What was that comment I said?
You did say boy or girl. You did. It was the same thing.
No,
you did
but
a bit
then I
different.
said boy, girl, and you said, what does it matter? I said,
Yes.
because I don't know what was my, you have to rewind the tape.
You cut the scene then. She cut the scene at that point. And this is what I mean, like being playful, right? Like engaging
That's
with
the
the
playful.
world.
That's the playful. You walk away and you probably go, wait, was she asking me because she's interested, or was she asking me because she's curious, or she's just being silly?
So if I'm being honest, because like I said, most women don't even approach, right? I think I've only been approached less than 10 times in my life where she came up to me.
That's a lot of times.
Well, not compared to some women on a weekend. Like women get approached 10 times a night.
Okay, all right.
Okay, like I've been approached in my whole life. Do you know
Some
what I mean?
women don't, you know.
No, a lot of women don't, right? Because, people are afraid of rejection. I understand. Do you know what I mean? It makes sense. So, but the fact that you approached and then you mentioned you asked about whether it's boy or girl, that is so direct compared to what I've experienced, any woman who's taken an interest. Okay. So that was very obvious, but then I
walked away. So you already have a sign that I was interested, but you didn't give me the right answer. So I don't really know what's going on. So I better just walk
Yeah,
away.
because that's part of the
and
play.
and watch.
That's part of building the
watch from the
tension.
distance, and then just pay attention to what's going on because the mystery is there.
See, I think that approach works for a guy where he should talk to her, but then not try and ask her out straight away. He should leave it.
Okay.
And because that makes her go, oh, was he actually hitting on me? Or was he just having a conversation? Because I think so many women are so used to guys, hey, you're really attractive. Like, can I
But
get
if
your
the
number?
guy's going to ask you with your girl, you with a guy.
Oh, that's pretty obvious then,
There
I
you go.
guess.
So
Yeah.
there you
But
go.
I think women can tell.
So I won this one then.
No. I don't think most women aren't that direct, is what I'm saying.
No, that's fair enough. I wouldn't do it. But if that was the case and I wanted somebody to then turn around and give me that signal that they want to take me out,
Yes.
I might just do a little something like I'm appearing. Like I want you to know I'm here, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you the question.
And the thing is, I actually encourage women to do more of that because for women, that approach was very direct, right? And so for some guys, even then, they wouldn't pick up that, that she was interested.
They need to go back to school.
They need an older sister or they need someone to help them out. But that was very direct. So it was very clear, right? But most girls aren't like that. Most girls are either like, their approach will be, they'll go to the bar, order a drink next to the guy, and they'll be like, oh, this is where he hit on me. And it's like, he doesn't even know that you like him. Like, you've not made that contact. Like,
I think it depends on the age of the woman. And do they call them women?
I agree.
There's a difference between you have like the teenagers that they don't really go to the bar because they're way too young.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the early 20s and the 30s and the 40s. You have to just, there's a difference.
I think there is definitely a generational thing for sure. Because especially nowadays, especially like the younger generation, modern generation, because they're so used to growing up on this.
Oh, yes.
Their actual social skills, if you will, can be really heavily like, handicapped.
It's bad. It's really bad.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they've got this liberation because obviously women and liberation and suddenly look how pretty I am. Mm-hmm. But then I can do this, that and the other on social media. But then they come out into the real world and they don't even know how to handle themselves. And that's a big problem.
It's true. You must get approached by guys like older and younger. Like, do you notice a difference?
More younger.
That doesn't surprise me. How do they approach you?
Depends on the situation. So it depends. I don't really go to bars very often or clubs. It's not my type of scene.
Yeah.
But it could happen at the gym, or it could happen like if I go to like a fitness convention, or if I'm going into like touring, when I go touring with an artist, then those moments is where I get approached a little bit more. But it's just more like, oh, so are you working with such and such, or do you train here often, or where do you normally go for fun? And then we have these little conversations, which I prefer than being in a bar, because when everybody eats in a bar, they're just gonna drink, and then the whole drink is gonna make you a little bit silly. But yeah, they've got very nice ways of approaching. It's not too heavy. Maybe it's because of the energy that I portray. They say it's a little bit intimidating sometimes. So
it says commands respect.
No. But it's just. I guess it just depends what you're portraying, but I never had anybody going like, "Hey, girl, what you doing tonight?
No.
Do you want Netflix and chill?" I'd be like, "Oh."
I also think
approaching the wrong person.
Yeah, I also think that how we choose to present ourselves to the world almost says the kind of energy that we'll accept. So if a guy approaching you in his joggers and t-shirt,
oh, I love that.
Is going to be, oh really?
Oh yeah, because that's natural.
As opposed to like, if you're out and about and he's got open shirt, nice suit, smells good.
That's it. You don't need to be doing all that.
Not that you need to, but would that not create a different impression?
The problem you have is that when you actually have that representative, we all know that's what it's called, and they just put that mask and everything's like perfect. It's the same as for women. They put, no offense, but they put the wigs on and the fake nails and this and that, and it's different that if you're actually going to see them in the swimming pool and they just naturally just have the wet hair, they don't have any makeup, and they're wearing the shorts and the tee, you're probably going to like that more because that's the regular thing. So on a long term, you're probably going to see that as a winner more than just a
So
good time.
I hear that, but do you think it's wrong to make an effort to look nice?
I don't think it's wrong, but it
Okay.
just depends on how you try to use that image to then get the attention of somebody, which is what we were mentioning before. The problem that
But I
we
think
have.
we all do that though.
Mm,
Like, I mean,
I
even yourself, you came in, you're looking stylish,
well,
looking
thank
ready,
you.
looking presentable.
I
You
just
didn't just rock up in your PJs.
well, I mean, but if you ask me to come on a PJs, I'll come on my PJs.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you didn't choose to do that. Like, you chose to dress nice for a reason. That's not you being fake.
I mean, the reason why is because I love fashion. That's number one, and it's not a fake thing. And
Yes,
everywhere I go, I think you need to know how to present yourself. So it's
I
not
agree.
really like I can't go to the gym dressed up like this. That just
No.
will be wrong. Or I can go to the dance studio to dressed up with all these rings and my nails, and that's like you can't be doing that.
Mm.
But if a guy is natural, for me, there's nothing better than a guy with jeans and a white tee and the Timberlands. I think the old school Timberlands, it looks so sexy.
So is it okay? Is it more that maybe that's just your style that you like?
No, I just think it's just natural. Like you don't need to present yourselves in any way. When it's too much, it's too much. And when you think it's too much or it's too good, it probably will.
I think it's not that about dressing nice so you can fake it, but how we choose to present ourselves to the world says something about us.
Yes, but it can also be taken wrong.
It might be taken wrong, but
Depends
then
how far you take it.
sure, but what I would say is that, okay, so for example, if I go to an event and I'm wearing like a nice grey suit, open shirt, and someone thinks I'm trying too hard, that's a problem with them, not me.
Agree? If it's an event.
But
Because an
what's
event, is protocol. You've kind of following a little bit of the protocol and your image and again, your brand. But is it just
Sure.
your brand or is it your brain as well as your body and then your brand that you have to look after? That's something that,
Yeah, but I guess what I'm intrigued by is that you could have the same guy approach the same way. If he was wearing t-shirt and jeans, you'd be more receptive than if he was wearing a suit. And I don't understand why.
it depends of the location and where he's presenting. If we're in an event, everybody should be making an effort.
Let's say you're at a restaurant.
If I'm in a depends what restaurant. Are we talking about Nando's or are we talking
Yeah, let's say
about...
he's at Nando's.
If it's a Nando's and he's on his tracksuit and a hat, then what's the problem?
What if he comes in wearing a suit and he approaches you then?
I'm thinking he's coming out of work. But if that's the way he's going to wear it when he goes to Nando's, I don't know what he's going to wear when he goes to a wedding.
Yeah, so here's the thing. It's like, I think, and I don't think you're saying this on purpose, but it comes across that they're dressing that way so that they can approach you, so it seems inauthentic, right?
No, I will
Right.
say that's not what I want to say. What I
Right.
say is that sometimes what I feel is if somebody's making a lot of effort in atmosphere or in an event, that I wouldn't say you shouldn't be wearing that, but let's just say let's say again we put it into Nando's. We go to Nando's
Mhm.
and they're wearing a suit. One, you can think that they're just coming out of work,
Sure.
but then if they're not coming out of work and they're dressing like that, they just basically not placing themselves correctly on the dress sense for the location.
Why?
they're
What's
in.
wrong with wearing a suit to Nando's?
I just definitely will think there's a bit over the top. Imagine seeing
That's
a girl.
that's a little bit presumptive, though.
But think about something like imagine a girl on heels in a red dress in Nando's, like with the sparkles.
I'll be like, good for you, girl. You look great.
Okay, that's for you. That definitely wouldn't be me.
So it's that you're making a prejudgment based on what they're wearing when you haven't even talked to them yet,
No,
based on location.
No, if they come and, as I said, when they come and speak to me,
Mhm.
I could, assume they just finished work. But
Yeah.
if somebody wears that on a regular basis when they go to Nando's, I'm gonna think this is probably a little bit too much for me. I wouldn't think it's appropriate because I think it's a little bit over the top. It's like you're trying to impress me too much just because of what you're wearing. But really, if it's too much on your dress sense than what it is that you have on your brain.
See, this is what I'm saying, right? Because you just said you think that they're trying to do it to impress you, and I'm like, that's a presumption you're making.
Could be a possibility. It could be because
but it might
they
not
could
be.
be coming from work or they could be doing it because they want to impress. And
But
for me, it's too much for me.
So is it the style or that they're making too much of an effort in a particular area?
I think is they're making too much effort in a particular area because their location doesn't really accompany with what they're wearing.
Can I be honest with you? I'm
Go
going to be
ahead.
honest.
Do you like a suit in Nando's?
Yeah, why not? I'll go to Nando's in a suit. I think that you've had a lot of experience with guys presenting themselves that way, so there's a negative connotation with that. Because really it doesn't.
I don't agree with that.
That's all right. You can tell me why in a minute. But the reason I say that is because if a guy is dressed and looks nice, it shouldn't matter what environment that we're in to make a prejudgment on his character, especially if he approaches you with warmth and with generosity. Like, it shouldn't matter if you're in Nando's and he's wearing jeans and a t-shirt, or if you're McDonald's and he's actually wearing a suit.
I love McDonald's, by the way.
There you go. Right. And I think that because if a girl was in dress, if she was in a wedding dress and, heels and she was in McDonald's, right? She came and talked to me. Well, first, I'd be like, oh, you're in a wedding dress. Like, what's it for?
Right.
Whatever. But that would make me like curious about her. It wouldn't make me go, oh, okay, well, she's making an effort. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I think that. But you said that I'm wrong. Tell me why.
I just, okay. So as mentioned before, like if initially he comes dressed up like that, then obviously if he has the right approach, then obviously there's a further conversation that can go ahead. But if it's something that then I discover that he just does it as a regular base, it's not something that I like. I don't think.
What is it that you don't like?
It's the same as if I have a guy turning up in a suit when we go to a swimming pool.
That's different though, because you're not going to go swimming in a suit, right? He might get changed. He might come up in a suit and get changed into his trunks, right? But even if he did that, like, so.
But
what?
then if we're going to end up going on a hike, are we going on a suit?
No, but like what I'm trying to say is, why is it a problem if somebody makes an effort to look good whenever they go out?
I don't think there's a problem.
Okay.
But it just depends on where you're going, what you're doing, and what are you doing it for?
So what I would say is this: outside of physical activities where you need appropriate wear, like hiking, like swimming, right? Outside of that, it shouldn't matter.
Okay. In your opinion.
So where would it matter for you?
If I was to turn up on a date with you and I was wearing high heels and a dress, but you wanted to go on a hike.
No, but that you need active wear for a hike.
Okay, so let's just say we're going to Nando's and I end up on a sparkling dress and I've got my
I'll be like, great. I've got the best looking women in here. Fantastic.
Well, maybe it's different for you.
I think I appreciate if somebody makes an effort to look good. I would appreciate it regardless.
So let me ask you something.
Go for it.
If somebody is making the effort to look good,
but
then what is something that you don't like in a woman when they're overdoing it physically and when they're doing the fashion? Let's say how they look after themselves. Like there's certain things that men don't like. Some men don't like fake nails. Some men don't like wigs. Some men don't like the butterflies, like they look like they're gonna fly.
Yeah.
Like it just depends on what you're on. If they wear that and they made an effort, okay, they made an effort, but you don't like it. So what is it that you don't like?
So what if I don't like? Okay, so let's say that like the long nails thing, right? Let's say I just don't like that. But if I don't like it, it's because I don't like that period. It's not like I don't like it in this situation. Because like you said, like I used the example of a guy being in a suit, right? And you said, okay, you wouldn't like it at Nando's, but you would like it at an event because that's appropriate. For me, it's like if I don't like the whole long nails thing, I wouldn't like it at Nando's or at the event. I just wouldn't like it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand.
So that's why I was asking you, outside of activities where you need active wear like swimming, ice skating, hiking, right? Where is something where if a guy did show up in a suit like that, for you, it would just like turn you off? I don't even know why.
I just think in my eyes, when a man presents himself, it needs to be correctly for whatever situation, whatever location, and whatever activity we're going to.
Yeah, go on.
That's how I feel. So sometimes, people think, yeah, this is the right thing to wear, or they're making an effort. That's not a problem. I appreciate that. But if I think, of course I do.
You sure?
Like, of course I do. I appreciate it. The only issue that I think I will have is if they think that going on a suit to Nando's or going to a suit to McDonald's is the right, clothing to wear. Like that wouldn't make any sense to me. Like I don't want to.
So what?
But that's me.
But would that really turn you off?
Yes.
Wow.
Do you know, my friend taught me this like a few
Okay.
months ago. It's like an ick. Like, oh, like why are you wearing that? That's just
I think fair enough. Everyone's entitled to their own preference, of course. I think that is
It's the same
a
as
very. I don't think that is. It's just such a small thing to completely disregard someone just because
I'm not
they
gonna
wore a
disregard it.
suit
I
going to
just want to
McDonald's.
know. I want to know if that's what they do on a regular basis, and then I can make my decision. It's like the way that some people speak. That can turn you off, or because that's the way they might make a fantastic effort, but maybe the way they speak is not the way you like somebody speaking to you. But that's the way of, you know, making known that that's the effort to speak to you.
I completely
right?
agree. I
Are you with
completely
me?
agree. I completely agree with you. But like the example of the way they speak to you, you wouldn't receive that better in a different environment. Whether they do it to you at McDonald's or at an event or at the cinema, you'd be like, I just don't like the way this person speaks. So it's like, it's across the board. It's not like contextual.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the whole kind of, and like you said, maybe you're like, oh, you just like a guy with good dress sense, right? Or a style that you like, which is why I asked, is it the style or is it that he's making an effort?
I feel it's a little bit of the same as when some people, and you know, that they say they want to have somebody that's more emotionally intelligent,
Yes.
like emotionally healthy.
Yes.
I want somebody that has a dress sense.
Fair
and
enough.
They understand, you know, where shall I dressed up and how.
Better be careful,
and
fellas. If you make too much of an effort or not enough effort, it's a no-go for
Don't
this
listen
girl.
to him.
It's a no-go. Let's move on to something else. What's something you want to bring to conversation? Something you want to talk about?
Tell me, what do you think? But this is more for you, more than as a general dating thing.
Oh, okay.
What do you think about coaches that are in the industry that are very known as dating coaches?
Yep.
And they believe that some coaches are too young to be able to be doing what you're doing right now.
Oh, that's a great question. Well, what I would say is that surely it's not about the coach, it's about what they preach, and either what they preach works or it doesn't.
Okay.
If you think that because of age, I'm not saying you personally, but if somebody ever thinks that because of age they can't learn something from someone else, then that's somebody who's lacking wisdom, because even grandparents learn from their grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
Parents learn from their children. So it's not about the age of the person, it's about the content of their character and their message. That's what I would say.
Okay.
Why? What would you say?
Oh, I think if somebody has the experience in relationships to actually talk about it, and they don't only have to go into university, it's something that they can perfectly do, especially if the message is correct and they're actually helping people. And one of the things that I say, and I always put this as an example, there's some big coaches out there that they're actually talking a lot about the situation of the younger ones doing something like this because they don't have enough experience. It's also to do with thinking, like you go to a gynecologist and he doesn't have a women's area and he helps them. So he's knowledgeable, but he doesn't have it. It's the same as some coaches haven't had the experience, or they're not in a relationship and they're not on a marriage, but they're still giving good advice. It's the same thing. It's like you have the gynecologist don't have a woman's part or men's part, but it's not called a gynecologist.
Yeah,
it's
I don't
called
know
something
what it's
different.
called, yeah.
But it's the same thing. They don't have it,
Yes.
but they have it because they have the knowledge.
Yeah, it's like a football coach. Like you can have a football coach who manages a team, but he's never been a footballer.
Right.
Right. But that doesn't mean he doesn't know how to best guide his people to play the best football.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, yeah, I completely agree. Now, someone wants to ask you, what do you think about friends with benefits?
I don't like it. I don't like the sentence. I don't like the concept of it. I think it's disrespectful. I think it's very useful. Yes, because what it happens is very unprepared people that believe that it's okay to take benefit from somebody else, but they're not ready. The friends, like the friends with benefits. So they say there's always somebody in that part of the friendship that wants more than the other. The other person is not going to give it because they're not ready, because they just want to benefit. So clearly they're not there for the right reasons. They're there for just the benefit. So you can just think about it as, okay, my benefit is, sexual interaction or intimacy.
Mhm.
And that's what I want from you, but I don't want the responsibility of anything else.
Mhm.
And this is unfortunate what's happening nowadays, because years ago, men used to work for this. And unfortunately, because of liberation, women believe that liberation means, okay, you just go and sleep around because men do it, we can do it too. There is a massive conflict with this at the moment, and that is a massive problem. So no, I absolutely hate it, and I don't think it should even be mentioned.
So I don't disagree with the impact, but do you not believe that there are some women who can maybe only want something like a casual situation with a guy?
Before I believe no, but because of the women I'm coaching, I believe yes. I believe there's a lot of women out there that got so fed up with relationships with men and being able to open up so much and being so vulnerable. They got to that state where they just want to have a benefit with that person, which at the end of the day, if you want to look at it on a way or another, when you actually get into a relationship with somebody, you're looking for a benefit. What's the benefit? Is being looked after, is having a family, being supported, having a protector. But then on the other hand,
women get a lot, don't they?
Right. Yeah, but on the other hand, you get that too. Because
What, a protector,
you
a
get,
provider?
what do you get when you're with a woman on a relationship or even marriage?
You get someone who supports you, ideally.
Okay. So don't you get, I'm going to put it like this. You get a babysitter because she's going to have your kids.
Whoa, no, hold on.
Wait,
I have to disregard that one.
Wait, let me finish, and then we can argue
because
about
they're her
this.
kids too.
Okay, so if you're going to get married, she's clearly going to babysit. So she's doing babysitting for the kids.
Nope.
For your kids and her kids, she's also cleaning the house. So that's a benefit.
She may not be. We may both do that.
But I'm just saying, on a normal thing,
Sure.
let's say you're going to choose a woman on the traditional side of things. She's also, let's call it a sexual worker.
A sexual worker?
Sexual worker. Think about it on a benefit way. Think about it. Think about it for a second. Because unfortunately, when you're having your friends with benefits, you're having your sexual benefit. But you also get that when you're married.
She gets
You
it
also
too.
get the babysitting, right? But then she's also gets pregnant. You can't get pregnant.
Okay, so that's great for
She
her.
also goes through the post
Post-not. I know what you're talking about.
Postpartum depression. Sorry, I couldn't say the word properly.
Depression.
So there's the problem we're having. Years ago, men will work for this. That's the reason why men used to want to get married, because of sex. Because they wanted to have a family, because it was a massive benefit. But women are giving it away so easily nowadays that the work is so much less.
I would also, and this, I'm speaking for the men here, most women do not bring those values anymore. So
the experience is what brings you the right person.
No, but what I mean is that a lot of guys would say that because the values, I understand what you're saying, I don't disagree with you, but those are very traditional values.
Of course, yeah.
Right? A lot of guys would say that it's difficult to find a woman who wants to bring those traditional values, but they still expect a man to play the traditional part. So
can I ask you,
go on,
the reason why men want a traditional woman and women want a traditional male? Do you think they still want it that way?
I think, not all, but I think some people want to receive in a traditional way, but they don't want to give in a traditional way. So, for example,
okay,
if you have a woman who says, I want a man who's going to provide and protect for me, cool.
That's just the sentence everybody says.
They say that, right? That's very traditional.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. But then that means that the traditional thing would be, okay, you take care of the meals. You take care of the home. You're the primary carer for the child, right? And a lot of women don't want to do that. And that's fine. I'm not saying they have to, but that means you're not looking for a traditional dynamic. So you can't ask for a traditional person, right? And not give in a traditional way. So for example, if a woman says, I want a man to pay for everything, take care of me, take responsibility for everything, so I don't have to worry about everything. Cool, fantastic. But if you say you want to go out with your friends and he says you're not going, you're not going.
Why?
Because you're giving, with responsibility comes authority.
Meaning that just because she's giving you the traditional role, that means that you have the authority?
So it means that if she is giving you the responsibility to look after her, the relationship and everything else, she also submits to his authority as well. That's traditional.
Okay.
So I'm not saying people have to do that, but you can't ask to receive in a traditional way. Because here's the thing, there's pros and cons to everything, right?
Agree.
Being responsible for someone else, that is a huge burden. Providing for someone else, that is a huge burden. Protecting someone else, that is a huge burden. So
Is it a burden?
yes, it is a burden. But it says in the Bible, burdens are made for shoulders, not hips. Okay. So like, for example, if you and I are going on a date, right? And let's say we're walking back from the station, right? And let's say, I want to go down this path, but you're like, oh, you want to take this path, which is like through the park, right? And the park is dark, and like, oh, we need to go to the loo, etc. Rush home, it's a shortcut. And I'm like, okay, I hear you tomorrow, but actually, I think it's best we go this way, right? And let's say, in a traditional sense, I'm responsible for your safety. Even though you want to go that way, we will go this way. Now, if you're like, no, I really want to go this way, I'd be like, cool, but I'm not responsible for your safety anymore.
Okay.
Right? Because responsibility without authority is slavery. Right? I tell you how and when you can pick the cotton, all that, but you have no authority over, when and how it happens. Right? So if you're giving someone responsibility, you're also giving them element of authority. You have to submit to that authority. Now, a good man, what I would say, a good traditional man, whatever decision he's making, he goes, what do you need? What do you need from this? Right? And he tries to ensure that making the best decision also provides you what you need. Right? But you can't ask for something traditional if you're not going to submit in a traditional way.
I just guess obviously nowadays there is a bit of a gap of what's really traditional to what's not traditional, and the request that people are having, protect and provide. But the problem that we have is not just men, is women. There's such a confusion on the roles, and women being independent, and men wanted a woman that wants to stay at home, but then she wants to go to work. But the problem is that because things are very expensive nowadays, and it's so much harder to have things, achievable. Sorry to stop you.
Yeah, go for it.
Something that's achievable is not as easy because, if you were to lose your job, then what's going to happen?
I agree. So I don't mean like, I don't think guys are saying women shouldn't work, right? Because first off, most households need two incomes anyway.
But the problem we have is if you want a traditional relationship and you want the real tradition, as they call it, women will not go to work.
I know, but like it's a spectrum though, isn't it?
Yes, this is the problem we're having because the world is so different to what it was before. And things are much harder to achieve and to maintain, and to even having a family and kids is a different level. Unless obviously you come from a good family or there's money in your family already.
Sure.
Then that's a little bit of a problem. That's where we come to massive issues nowadays.
Sure. But what I'm saying is though, you can have both of them working, but they still have a traditional dynamic. Right? Because it's not about who's earning what, but it's about the dynamic. Let me ask you,
if the woman is going to work, why are you going to exchange for that role that she's going to be doing, working as well as, because then if she's going to have kids at the same time as she has to work, then that means there's more work on her side than your side.
Okay, so what I mean is this, for example, right, which has been the case with every one of my relationships, right? We might be both working, but 9 times out of 10, if we go out, I'm paying.
Okay.
So we're both working,
right?
But that's quite a traditional dynamic. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is traditional, but the problem is when the kids come into the picture.
Sure, and then you have to. A lot of time, women might go part time. If you're a woman and you don't have to work, like you're with a man where you don't have to work, that is a luxury today.
Well, of course.
Like that is like if you don't have to, that is a luxury, right? And so this is why I was saying like you're like, oh, babysitter. I'm like, they're her kids too.
But you know what I mean? Like if she stays at home, she's doing like 6 different jobs at home.
I'm not saying it's not a job, but what I'm saying is she's doing that for the family, right? Not for him.
But what is she doing for her?
Is that not for her? Is it not in her own interest to look after her own children?
No, because when men go to the football or they go into, I don't know, playing golf and they just go sailing.
That's fine, but you said about him going to work and he's working for who?
He's working for himself and the family.
Well, okay, so why do you say he's working for himself, but she's only looking after kids for him?
but then she's not outside the house, so she's on an environment that's not going to help her mental health on a longer term. That's why there's so many women from years ago that they don't know anything better than what it was at home. They don't know how to come out the world. What happens nowadays when women been married 30, 40 years and they need to come out and work? They don't even know what to do.
So
they're unprepared, so they're not really doing it for themselves.
You don't think, right? So I'm just want to clarify. You don't think that women, right, or a lot of women who want to have a family, you think they would rather be at work than looking after their new child?
No, I think for what I'm coming across nowadays with all the women that I'm dealing with and in the academy is that they would love to still have kids, but they want a babysitter and they want somebody that will clean at home. So they want to still go to work. They still want to have
That means they're not
family.
Traditional though.
Right, but they want to have the kids and they want to have the family.
That's fine.
But unfortunately, if you lose your job or another person they're dating, they're losing the job, unfortunately, the household is not going to be as smooth as it was when there was 2 incomes or 1 income coming in.
What I would say is that there's, like I said, there's pros and cons to everything. There's nothing that is all good nor bad.
It's crossovers all the time.
So if you have 2 parents working and have a babysitter raising the child, that means the babysitter's raising the child, not you. So they more like, and this happens a lot, they start to more likely have a stronger relationship with the child and the child has a stronger relationship with them. And I say this because when I went to boarding school, it was just a bunch of rich kids and that's exactly how it was for them, right? They did not have close relationships with their parents. Is that a sacrifice worth having? Personally, I wouldn't want that, right? I have a good relationship with my parents. So now, if you have a woman working at home, the benefit is that you raise the children how you want them to be raised. You get to spend time with your children. Is it work? Of course it's work. I'm not saying it's not work, right? I'm not saying it's not labor. But you have the added benefit of you are raising the child how you want them to be. You are having a strong relationship with the child, right? And there's not a third party in your family.
What's your opinion about you staying at home as a man and she going to work? Changing the traditional roles.
I mean, I think people can do that if they want. I don't think that's in me personally. I've never been in that position. I will say, I've dated maybe 1 or 2 older women and they were very, very wealthy. And so when we went out, they kind of took care of everything. I was like, wow, this is what it's like to be a girl. And I was like, no wonder girls love this.
Very different.
But personally for me, I mean, I don't know how we would come to that decision. I don't know how we come to the decision where that was the best way, just because I know how I am. But I'm not going to say that would never happen, but I think the chance of it happening is very unlikely.
0 minus 0.0000.
I'd say 0.00002%. How would you feel? How would you feel being with a guy and he wanted to be a stay-at-home husband?
I don't think that sounds right to me. I think that would be, I'm just trying to picture him in the kitchen cooking and me going out with a suit.
So many girls would love a guy to be cooking for them.
I mean, I love a man to cook for me, but not on a daily basis because I wouldn't even feel feminine enough. I love to be in the kitchen. I love to do certain things for my man.
Go on. I was going to ask, do you think a woman can respect a guy who's a stay-at-home husband?
No.
Yep, there you go.
100% no. No, because unfortunately men run on certain things that help them to feel like a man, especially because of your egos. They're much higher than ours. They're just to a different level.
Maybe we're just very good at taking responsibility. Because that's what a leader does.
Hey, you think women can't?
I think they can, but I think most women want a guy to be the leadership position in the relationship.
Have you seen how many sacrifices and how many obligations women have without even having to have a choice?
What do you mean?
They have no choice but to get pregnant. They have no choice but to have a menstrual. They have no choice if they want to have a family.
You can adopt a child. You don't have to.
If you don't have your own kid, you know what I'm talking about. Even the menstrual circles, like we have no choice but to have them.
You better talk to nature. That has nothing to do with me. That has nothing to do with me.
But I'm just saying, you see the obligations that we have without even being able to have a choice.
Okay, well, being pregnant is a choice. Anybody who is pregnant,
if you want to have if you want to have your own kids and have a family, unless you have a lot of money and have a segregate mom.
Okay, but that's like saying,
sorry.
That's right. But like, it's like saying, okay, well, you know, it's not, I don't have a choice in having car insurance. It's like, well, if you want, you can choose to not have car insurance, but that just means you won't be able to drive legally. right? Or you just won't be able to
You're going
drive.
to jail.
Okay, sure. So like, you don't have to be pregnant, right? That is a choice. If you're talking like menstrual cycle, take that up with nature. That, you know, but I think 99% of female mammals have menstrual cycles, same as being pregnant, but you don't have to choose that. But in terms of, you know, taking the responsibility, you know, well, a lot of women express that they want the man to take responsibility for a lot in the relationship, and so that's why men typically take that position.
Depends on the type of woman, but okay.
I agree. I think some women prefer that they take the responsibility, right? But I think that's quite few, because I think they struggle to respect the man in the relationship.
Okay.
I would say. We're going to wrap it there because we could chat for ages.
I can feel it too, yeah.
We could chat for ages. But thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
If people can find you, where can they find you?
All my social medias is I am Tamara Kramer, and there is a lot of things to look behind it.
Yeah.
Especially my coaching at the moment. So
what kind of coaching do you do?
I am qualified as a life coach under the Tony Robbins team since 2017, and now I specialize in relationship coaching, especially for women.
Well, there you go. Well, maybe you should have your podcast and get me on. We can continue this discussion.
We'll get to that for sure.
I love that. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate your energy.
Thank you.
Guys, go give her a follow, give her a like, all that good stuff. And I will see you in the next episode.